where do you come from? How is that you are the CEO for Shaden, and a bit of a background of where you come from?
So Julio is Colombian. Julio also did hotel school in Switzerland, and in 2008 I arrived in '𝐓𝐫𝐸𝐺𝐸. Very
What a
interesting
timing!
time. What a timing! Yeah.
And why do you like the role? Why have you come to like it?
I've come to like it because you work very closely with the operating team. It's really a team effort between the operating team and the owner on how can we do different things.
It's my first conversation with an asset manager. I did not expect this to be so enjoyable.
Let me know when you want to have the second one.
Welcome, Julio, on the podcast, and thank you for being here in Lisbon with us at the 17th edition of the Real Estate Development Summit. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, and I've been part of your events for the last couple of years. We've been one in Saudi, two in the UAE, and it's always a great event to be present.
Thank you for being here. And so, Julio, I would like to begin by understanding. Who's Julio? Where do you come from? How is that you are the CEO for Shaden, and a bit of a background of where you come from?
Certainly. So Julio is Colombian. Julio also did hotel school in Switzerland. And in 2008 I arrived in 𝐓𝐫𝐸𝐺𝐸 just a couple of weeks before the economic meltdown. So it was a very interesting time. What a timing, yeah. Actually, my boss at the time, he actually called me in and said, look, you're already here. Had your ticket been for 2 weeks later on, you wouldn't be here. But, let's all play together. Let's make sure we do the best for the families that work in the hotel and, for the owners of the hotel. So it was a very interesting experience. We were able to navigate the crisis with 0 layoffs. And everybody basically tightened on their belts, and we were able to go through it. And we had a very good ramp up as well after that. That hotel at the time was part of Starwood, which is now Marriott, effectively. So it was really, really interesting to have that position as a management trainee. 𝐵TA Futura was the name of the program at the time. And I was there for 2 years. And I had opportunities to work with Six Sigma. Starwood at the time had a very strong Six Sigma program. So I was part of that. And had the chance through my bosses. I've always had really, really good bosses, right? So I try to pay it forward with the people that work with me, right? So they gave me many opportunities to get into Six Sigma, into project management, then hotel conversions, hotel openings, hotel closures, refurbishments, and openings. So it was a very interesting experience. And I had the chance to do a couple of projects which, opened my eyes, not only to understand the hotel business, but also the business of hotels. Right? So one is from the operator point of view, and the other is from the investment and the owner point of view. And being able to fully understand the operational aspects of the hotels, then as opportunities arose and the market became, in a way, more mature, the asset management function was quite new in the region.
Yeah, I can imagine.
There's actually an association called HAMA, so it's the Hotel Asset Management
Yeah, I see that you are also a founder of this.
One of the founding members.
Nice.
So when the association was created in the UAE by René Bell, who's the president, we were a group, maybe 18 or 20 asset managers who were part of the first rounds. So that was really interesting because you have a network of colleagues to benchmark, to understand what's happening, to see trends and discuss trends. So it kind of keeps a counterbalance between the operators and then the owners, right? And the job of the asset manager is, of course, to make sure the owner's interests are well represented, and maintain a very good relationship with the operator. Right? Effectively, we all work together, and the better the hotel does from an operating side and from an asset management side, the better the investment brings returns for the owner. So that's basically how that gets put together. You know, in the US, this association has quite more history than in the region, Middle East and Africa.
You're referring to 𝐓𝐻?
To 𝐓𝐻. They also have a chapter in Asia. So it's basically all of the asset managers are members of this association, which is very, very interesting.
And how many members are there at the moment?
So when we have the reunions in the UAE, where the headquarters is, we'll have anywhere between 15 to 40 members.
Okay.
Worldwide, I wouldn't know how many, but they do hold different meetings in different locations. Mostly when they have the investment hotel shows, they will have those meetings as well in parallel. So yeah, I've been in the region since 2008. Work with an operator, work with a local company as well, then with a private company, also with a government company, semi-government company, and now I'm with Shaden. So that's been more or less the progression, right? From an operator point of view into project management, conversions, into asset management, then into executive director, and now into CEO.
Yeah, interesting journey.
It's been a very interesting and very nice journey.
And
yes.
the interesting part is you started as a management trainee.
Yeah.
Do you somewhere feel this is all predetermined in terms of that you will end up being in the asset management side, or is it along the way you like the whole journey of it and you've stayed with that process?
It actually came by chance, right? So, you know, at the time, I was not aware that the asset manager position existed. Right. And when I took my first job as an asset manager, most of my friends, they asked me if I had moved into banking, because that's what people relate the asset management title with.
Yeah.
And yeah, you are managing a hotel asset or a portfolio of hotel assets. And I think it was, you know, a mix of luck and opportunity that intersected, and I was able to make that change. Normally, you'll have, if you start with the hotel business, you remain in the hotel business. When you're in the business of hotels, you remain in the business of hotels. It's very rare that you see people who jump sites. There's a number of us, but it's not very common.
Exactly. I mean, if you're still saying 𝐓𝐻 has 50 asset managers at reunions, which means the role itself is very unique.
It is. And you know, we've also seen like consolidation between the hotel operators. You know, so they do acquisition of different brands and they grow their portfolio, mainly because their business model that dictates their share price is keys and fees. Right? So how many hotels they have, how many new keys they add to their portfolios, and then the fees they get for managing or franchising those hotels. Within asset management, it's a bit more fragmented, right? So you would have a number of owners and a lot of individual owners, right? So sometimes you see that the hotel owners would have a problem with their hotel, and then whether it's self-managed or it's managed by an operator, they try to find solutions. So the first step are consultants, right? And then some asset managers have stepped into consultancy, and some consultancy offer asset managers services as well. So this is basically how it goes. So you have a problem, you diagnose that problem with an expert. The expert then will support you to overcome whatever needs to be overcome to make sure your hotel performs at the right benchmark against its market or its competitor set.
And why do you like the role? Why have you come to like it?
I've come to like it because you work very closely with the operating team.
Right.
Right. So it's really a team effort between the operating team and the owner on how can we do different things. So you know the operators, they do the day-to-day operation, and you know the longest long-term planning they would have would be in some cases 12 months when they prepare the next year budget. And some operators, with the support of the owners, would prepare asset management plans. So we're talking 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. When you do this with the operator, you do it because the operator wouldn't do it on its own. right? The operator might suggest, let's do some capital investments, let's do some capex, let's do renovations, let's do new rooms or a new restaurant. And that's rare that it happens, because a hotel is built and normally remains the same.
That's right.
20, 30 years it goes
Yeah.
to 2 or 3 refurbishments, and then maybe there's an addition.
Yeah.
And these additional capex investments, it's owner's money, so it's the owner reinvesting their gains into the property. So you do it together with them, right? But it's the interesting part is you're able to create different things with the support of the hotel management team. Say you want to launch a new restaurant, or you want to do something wacky out of the box. So you'll speak with the operator, you'll align on how you want to do it, you'll check if it makes sense to do it, because sometimes it could be a great idea, but it could not be profitable, right? So you will discuss all of these things and then decide which direction to go. And it's really about teamwork. I really enjoy working with people. I enjoy being part of a team, and I enjoy, it sounds quite funny, but shaking the tree a little bit. So there's a status quo, that's fine.
Yeah, as an asset manager, you have all these liberty of shaking things up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes with it's part of the role as well, right? So let's say a hotel is not performing as expected, then you wouldn't be able to change the outcome if you don't change the process, right? So you need to come and shake things a little bit up, of course, in a very respectful way and cooperative way with the operator, to understand what's the best way forward. So I think this is what's really interesting. And developing hotels.
Is it an art?
It's a bit of an art, but it's also the beginning of the asset management cycle, right? So the asset management cycle would go. You'll have a feasibility. You decide to get into the project. You appoint an operator. You will appoint consultants, contractors. You'll get your hotel built from the ground up. Then you'll have your pre-opening phase, then you'll open it. You'll stabilize the hotel normally after 3 or 4 years from the operation. And normally what you see in more mature markets is once the hotel is stabilized, you would sell it. And then you start again. What you see in the region is most of the hotel owners, they like to retain their hotels.
Exactly what my understanding was. What you said, the first thing about developing and selling it is I've never been very familiar with that sort of the business.
Yeah, so and I think that's a nice part, right? So that's the cycle.
But which one do you like? Do you like the selling part or the retaining part?
I like the whole cycle.
Okay.
And I like to fix problems, right? So in a mature market, you would, for example, acquire a hotel that's underperforming. You would do some renovation, you do some capex investments. You stabilize it, 3-4 years later, you're selling it. And then you'll find another asset that needs, to be properly asset managed, and you'll repeat the same equation. And it really depends, it's the pre-opening part, it's super interesting. Right now, we just send out an RFP for a hotel in Napa for concept design. And this is where you have the most benchmarking, the most creativity flowing on, what can we do as different things, what are nice add-ons to have, what really adds value, what doesn't really add value, what would guests pay for. Sometimes you'd like to put, a lot of bells and whistles, but if that's not going to move your rate, then does it really make sense to have it? So there's also that part. I think the part I enjoy the most of the cycle is making sure a hotel overperforms its competitor set. And I think
in terms of price or in terms of revenue?
In terms of well, you will have your rate, your occupancy, and your RevPAR. If you're able to outperform your comp set in all of those 3 metrics, then chapeau, hands, bravo to the team that was able to get your hotel there. But of course, you have seasonalities, you have new additions to the market. Sometimes the market might contract a little bit. So it's something that is constantly changing, and you have to keep a pulse on it. Right, so that part is also very interesting.
So you're data-driven at some levels, and then you have to be creatively involved. And that's the mix of it that brings the joy for you.
That's correct.
And
I think,
yeah.
please.
No, go on. You're
So, it's very nice when you take a hotel P&L, you look at the numbers, but the numbers talk to you, right?
Yeah.
So you would benchmark your profitability in the rooms division, and then okay, we need to tweak to make sure we go up to the 80% where we should be. You do the same with the F&B. You look at your segmentation. You look at how you distribute your inventory. And sometimes, a modification in the segmentation that you want to have into your hotel could help you increase your RevPAR by 5 or 10%. Right? So it depends, where do you want to sell your rooms at what price? And if you're able to, have a very good base, lower rate business, but you know that you have an opportunity to yield when you sell direct closer to the day, then you're able to make very good returns, right? And also what's important, the hotel inventory is perishable, right? So whatever I didn't sell today, I didn't sell it. I lost that opportunity.
Exactly.
But the game is not to fill up your hotel.
Okay.
It's really to fill up your hotel at the right price with the right guest at the right time.
Okay.
That's where you really push it forward. So you used to have the mentality of, oh, no, I need to have my occupancy 100%.
Yeah.
And hotel owners, they like to ask, what was the occupancy, right? How I work with my employers is, occupancy is important, but what we're really after is RevPAR, which is your revenue per available room. Right?
Which is minus the expense, and how much you make out of it also is a benchmark. Not just what you collect, but once you collect, what you spend and what remains.
Correct. You would also benchmark your gross operating profits, right? Which is what the hotel will give the owner, before paying for the staff accommodation and before paying for the other fees and then for the owner costs, mortgage and other charges, insurance, that would be out of the equation. So you also benchmark your gross operating profit percentages across different assets. And that's how you would evaluate if you want to get into a hotel as an investor. So if you want to make an acquisition, you would look at this. And then you'll see, okay, this hotel is underperforming, GOP based. We could enhance it by X percentage, and then you calculate your cash flows and you decide if you want to jump into the investment or not. So it's very granular, and there's a number of disciplines within the industry itself, right? So I think one of the most important is revenue management side, but you also have your maintenance or your facilities management. You also have the human aspect, which is probably the most important thing in the hotel, because you need to read your guests. When I was a receptionist and I would see that somebody is coming to me and this person is fuming, just give them what they want as soon as possible. Don't go through the whole list of things you're supposed to do and try to upset. No, the guy just wants his hotel key. Just give him the hotel key, right? So it's also that aspect of training and empathy and teamwork. So it's also quite a big component. And at the end of the day, hotel GMs would be able to turn around properties when they're the right hotel GMs. And it all starts with a good, strong leader that has really good support from the owning company or from their asset manager, right? This is the secret sauce, and then you can really do amazing things.
For me, you sound like what? You sound like a hotel doctor. All the parts in the body, everything about the hotels, and the way you're describing the role of a GM, the revenue and maintenance and this and that and all of it. So you sound like a hotel. Now tell me, what are the top reasons why a hotel will get its RevPAR?
So there's a mix of things. The main component would be supply and demand, right? So RevPAR, is revenue per available room, right? So you would take your total revenue and you would divide it by the total number of rooms available. Supply and demand would be the main dictator of what you're able to achieve, and then the inputs would be your facilities, your brand, and what's becoming more and more important is your online score on platforms like Booking.com and TripAdvisor. So historically, people would talk about, no, this hotel is 4 stars or it's 5 stars, and that would mean it has very good service or lesser service, as well as less facilities. But today, most people would, book for a holiday. They'll go on Booking.com and they'll type the place they want to go. They will see what they're comfortable between the budget that they want to use for this holiday and the reputation score and the ratings of the hotel. And then sometimes they go on the operator website to see if they get a better deal there, which is normally you will get add-ons. So you might get your free breakfast, or it might include the tax. So overall, you should be able to get a better price with perks on the operator website, and then they make a decision. So these are the main things that would
bring about the RevPAR.
Correct. So it depends how you manage that, and then the RevPAR is heavily linked to the segmentation. So how you decide to fill up your hotel and how you want to put it through. And things have changed dramatically since the OTAs were created. Initially, they were really a support mechanism to sell your last rooms, because people would not go on different operator websites to find the room. So Booking.com consolidates all of it for you.
Yeah.
So that was the first intent. Now, some hotels have become super reliant on Booking.com. Then this is something quite interesting. The operators invest significant dollars into marketing, significant dollars into distribution, and sometimes the independent hotels, they don't do that. So they become reliant on Booking.com because it's their only way to possibly sell their rooms. So reliant and sometimes dependent. When a hotel is making 60% of the revenue through Booking.com, there's better ways to do it. And Booking.com charges also commissions, right? So you sold your room for $100. You are non-affiliated to an operator. You'll probably pay 16 or up to 20% of your room rate to Booking.com. So it's a significant chunk, right? So when it's not managed properly, these $100 get distributed to a number of people, and then the last one to get something is the hotel owner, and then that model is not going to work out. So there's also a part on the strategy, how you fill up your hotel, what is your RevPAR target, what are your competitors doing in terms of RevPAR. And these are like the main components. You look to identifying why your RevPAR is X and not Y.
Do designers, like let's say there's a particular designer who is asked to design a hotel in a particular region, do you as an asset manager did you get a chance to get involved in that process as well?
Yes.
And why?
So it's back to, so it's an investment, right? So designers would normally receive a design guideline and or a budget, right? And what you see in most cases is there's a lot of value engineering done in the last stage of the project, right? If you are able to work with your designers from an early stage together, you're able to start reducing the potential total cost from day one.
Okay.
Right? So I think really simple things, the width of the corridors in hotels. So sometimes they say, no, it needs to be 2.5 meters, but you can get away with 2. Right? So when you start multiplying the number of square meters, you're able to construct less because you were engineering this from the beginning, then you're able to reduce the overall ticket. There's a lot of input on hotel experience, so I think rule of thumb is you go into hotel lobby, if you're by the sea, you would like to see the sea from the moment you're in the lobby. You would like to be able to spot the reception and potentially the coffee shop and the elevators, because this is the top 3 things you're going to do once you enter the hotel lobby. You get your check-in, you probably grab a coffee, and then you want to go up to your room. So sometimes, and depending on what type of land you have, you are not able to make everything visible. And then it's that designer's job to create that guest journey, right? And then when the operators come in, which also work in parallel with the designers from day one in most cases, then you play with different things. So you'll play with the lightning, you'll play with the smell. Once you're operating, you have scents in different areas of the hotel to really create that guest experience. There's also a component of music. So when you walk into a hotel, and it's a well-run hotel, you'll have all of these things in place. Sometimes you walk into a hotel and something is missing, and you feel it. You don't really know what it is, but there's something missing.
That's right.
Or you feel a bit more hyped in a hotel because of the lighting, the music, the atmosphere, the ambience. And the hotel you walk in is like, oh, okay, your mood might change a little bit as well. So there's a big element in this. Airlines do it very well. Hotel companies do it very well. Retail shops, they also invest a lot of time and energy into this because it also affects the spending patterns of the clients.
You're right.
So there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that most guests would be unaware, but it's there and it's in place for these reasons.
Well, now you sound like a little bit more than a doctor. It's actually quite fascinating because the title asset manager sounds very serious as a title, but the way you describe it is amazing.
Look, it's really it overlooks at everything. I think what makes the operation very unique is hotels are open 24/7. And they kind of operate like a small little village, right? Everybody's there, and wherever you look, any time, any day, there's always something happening. So it's a very humbling, teamwork-oriented job, and as in any team, the moment somebody drops the ball, if there's not a safety net behind it to pick it up or prevent from happening, then you have interruptions in the service pattern. So you want to make sure that there's a plan, and there's a plan B, and there's potentially a plan C and D in place in case something were to go wrong. You'll be able to pick up the ball quite quickly.
Do every owner appoint an asset manager? Is it the norm in the Middle East?
It's becoming more and more popular.
Okay. Because what do you do to the owner? Like you're helping him make more money out of his investment by
Correct.
all your strategies. Okay.
Correct. So you represent the owner's interest, right? And you make sure that the things that need to happen. The success of a hotel, it's
you take the load
together with the operator. We work together. So it's a lot of supporting role with the hotel GM and making sure they have the tools they need. It's also making sure that we look at innovative ways of doing different things. Sometimes you look at technology upgrades. Sometimes you look at potential headcount relocations or headcount reductions. You look at revenue per square meter is a very good measure.
Yeah.
So you will start to assess, okay, which areas can I make additional revenues from in this hotel? Which is not defined under the hotel management agreement as a responsibility to the operator. Sometimes a GM would look into it, sometimes they wouldn't, and that's when the asset management comes in and says, okay, there's 6 or 7 different things we could look into. Let's put a timeline, let's put priorities, let's assign responsibilities, and then let's work together on how we're going to achieve these things.
And most of the times, being in your position, an owner has to agree to what you say because obviously you're working in his interest, and an operator who is working with you has to agree with you. So you're in a position of decision making at all times. Even with the owner.
Yeah, so there's example, like we had a case where one of my past chairmans, he wanted to make an investment in a geography.
Okay.
And he was very keen on it.
No, in the sense you guys were going to invest on a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So he was very keen on it. We ran some numbers, we looked at some scenarios, and asset managers are hired to give an advice to the owner. Whether the owner likes the advice or not, the advice needs to be given. Then it's the owner's decision, right? So sometimes you need to put the options on the table and say, look, my recommendation would be A out of A, B, and C. If you'd like to go with B, we can look at B. Please be aware that these are the risks you are deciding to get into if you chose A instead of B instead of A. So that's one part. And technically, the hotel general manager does report into the asset management from the owner side, because they report to their corporate operator, VP operations,
basically the operation,
or whoever there is. They report also to the operating company. And a lot of times, it's about really agreeing on how to get things done, right? So. For example, you can walk into the hotel GM and tell him you need to increase the rate, right? That's an example of what you should not do, right? Sometimes the owners would say, no, the rate needs to be higher, You can go and tell him, go and increase the rate, but if the rate is increased beyond where the market's willing to pay, then you're going to see a drop in occupancy and a drop in RevPAR. So you want to make sure your RevPAR is as high as possible. So it's really teamwork, and most of what I get, the tool I use the most to do my job is really benchmarking. You have your budget, which is where we would like to get to, but sometimes the market faces a contraction and you are behind your budget. But then the real measure is, okay, how are we performing against our competitor set? So the competitor set would be an agreed number of hotels that operate in the same market or in a similar market that have very similar facilities, right? You try to do a comparison as close to apples. So if there's a dip in the market and you're ahead of your competitor set, then bravo, we did a good job. But if there's a dip in the market and you're the last one in your competitor set, then we missed the boat. We did something, or we didn't do something that we should have, or we did something wrong. And then, okay, how are we going to mitigate it, and how are we going to turn this around?
Now tell me, these celebrities visiting any property, does it help you with the RevPAR?
It does help, of course, it does help. A lot of hotels are now focusing on having these Instagrammable places within their hotels. So this drives a lot of attention, it drives a lot of demand as well. And yeah, a lot of things have changed dramatically with social media platforms and the internet. Celebrities in the past would like to go in with how do you call it? With a different name. They make the booking with a different name, then they show up and then, okay, we weren't ready to handle this. Or sometimes they will send an envoy a couple of days ahead of their arrival time to brief the property and then set the rules that the celebrity wants to be treated with. So you also put this in place. And sometimes you have government officials, you would have celebrities, you would have sport people / celebrities. So they want different things, and you need to make sure that you accommodate all of these for them, maintaining a lot of discretion and maintaining a lot of professionalism while you do it. In one of the properties I worked in the past, we hosted the French football team. It was a property in Switzerland, and we had them there for it was the Euro Cup. Yeah, it was the Euro Cup. So we had Les Bleus with us, and it was very interesting because their contract was for the length of the tournament, whether they qualified to the final or not, because we had to block the whole hotel for them. Regardless of what would happen. It was they didn't get to the end of the tournament, so they had already done the contract. So we got, I think, 2 or 3 weeks where the hotel was fully booked for them, fully paid, but they left. So everybody, had a couple of days of holiday because there were no clients. It would also have been really nice to have them as the champions, but it didn't happen in this case. So there's a lot of really good stories in hotels and things that happened. I think one of my favorite is we got once a phone call and they told us that the microwave wasn't working. but we didn't have microwaves in the hotel. So we sent somebody upstairs, and these guys had actually put a cup of water inside the safety box, and he wanted to heat it up, right? So you get these stories, it's super interesting, and there's a lot of how do you call it, camaraderie between the people that work in the hotel, it's open 24/7. Shift, sometimes you need to do a bit of overtime because whatever, the hotel might be overbooked. So to find solutions how to, put people together, maybe into suites or presidential suite. Would you mind, you're together, would you mind sharing the presidential suite instead of just having your rooms? We'll be happy to offer you a spa treatment. Most of the time they would say yes. When they say no, then you have a problem because you need to find somebody a different room. So there's a handful of interesting stories. Something really nice is also when you change the menu, there's a menu tasting. Right, so the chef would invite some of the hotel employees to try their menu, give their feedback. Exciting times for the staff, when you change the uniforms, so everybody gets excited. A lot of team building activities for the staff as well are done. It's really its own ecosystem, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it sounds very fascinating from your point of view. And do owners make money?
Yeah, otherwise you wouldn't have more hotels, right?
And do you see there is the growing demand for the hotel, the asset management side? Do you see more people are getting into this profession as an asset manager?
Yeah, you see a number of asset management firms coming into the market, and you see more people that seek asset management positions. It could be junior asset manager or asset management analyst. Then there's a lot of deals that are organized or brokered by asset management firms for new projects or for hotel sales. What's interesting is there's a lot of third-party operators that have started to enter the market in the Middle East. Before, I think 6, 7, maybe 10 years ago, we had nobody in this field. You had a lot of them in Europe and in the US, but nobody in the market. And I think now there's 4 or 5 companies in the region that are offering the white label operator services. And they sometimes have 2 hats. So they do their own operations under a franchise for a brand, and sometimes they also assist with asset management services for the owner. It's a bit like it's being split into pieces, and then certain players would offer not all of it, but certain sections of what an asset manager would do. So you also get that a bit, it's becoming a bit more fragmented. But the ultimate support, the ultimate reason why the hotel owners would onboard an asset manager, it's to make sure that their interest is well represented, and then their hotel asset is as profitable as possible. The hotel operators, they have their set of fees. There's a base fee, there's an incentive fee, and then with the incentive fee, technically, the more money they make, the more fees they receive, right? But when you have the right asset manager that is able to challenge the operator on how to take things further, it benefits both parties, right? Sometimes, the operators, either they have too many hotels or they have some pressing issues they need to focus on. And if the hotel is performing as, number 3 or number 4 in their composite, it's okay, it's accepted, and that could be the status quo. But, most owners in the region, they don't want to be number 2 or number 3. They want to be the best one, right? So that's where asset managers add a lot of value in the equation.
Well, now tell me a little bit about your time in Saudi and the projects with Alula. How do you see 2030 vision attached to it? The plans that they have for the number of hotels the number of rooms that will come up in Saudi, and all of it. I would like to know what's your thoughts about that.
So there's a lot going on right now in Saudi, I think, and this is really interesting. If you speak to any Saudi, they all know Saudi 2030 vision.
Yes.
And I think that's a very interesting way the kingdom has created this and communicated it, because everybody is on board. I think that's number one. There's a whole number of hotels coming to the market. I think there's over 80,000 rooms, if I remember correctly, that are coming into the market in the next couple of years. Saudi has, when they opened up with the tourist visas, I think that was 4 years ago, a lot of people wanted to come into Saudi because before they couldn't, right? So you saw a wave of new tourists coming to the country. I've been there right now nearly 5 years, by October this year. But the first time I was in Saudi was in 2014. So I went in as interim GM. We had a hotel GM that was leaving, so I came in for a couple of weeks while the new GM came. And I was also there for National Day, so we had a celebration in the lobby. We had the dance, we were holding the swords, we had the flags. And I remember I went out of the hotel a couple of times. And when I compare that experience to my experience nowadays, it's night and day. It's changed tremendously. The country has opened up. The Saudis themselves are super friendly and super hospitable. If you get lost, they will help you. They will guide you. They're very proud to welcome people to their country. And culturally, because they're so hospitable, hospitality, it's a very easy role to play, because the Saudis by nature, they're very welcoming. Yeah. So you have, for example, Saudization. The hotel employees at the front office, they're all Saudis, which is a great initiative for the government, from the government to have the employment of the younger generations. So there's a lot of things happening parallel. As you probably heard, the first target of tourism arrivals already has been achieved, so it was also increased.
Yes.
You have the World Cup, you have the Olympic Games, you have more golfing and a lot of more sporting events happening in the country. I think it's a very fast-growing market, and there's a lot of attention right now in Saudi. A lot of companies that I've spoken to, today, they're either super keen to visit, or they're already discussing potential JV partners to start operations in the kingdom. So it's another case of, the right plan has been put in place and it's being executed, and everybody knows what's happening, so people know what to expect. You will see more and more hotels coming. There's a lot of brands that are coming. I think what's happening with the Giga projects, it's unique. They're developing areas that, people didn't have access to before. 𝑘𝐿𝑢𝑙𝑢𝑔𝑔𝑒𝑑, we're now at, I think it's 8 hotels, and about 800 keys.
Yeah.
And there's more hotels to come, which is really interesting. There's more airplane routes that are flying into 𝐼𝐿𝑢𝑙𝑢𝑔𝑔𝑒𝑑 Airport. Similarly, you have the new Red Sea Airport.
Yes.
There's also new routes coming there. There's a lot of interest for natural tourism. For example, in 𝐼𝐿𝑢𝑙𝑢𝑔𝑔𝑒𝑑, we host bird watching tours in our hotel. We had National Geographic, they came and they shot a documentary. And there's a lot of things to be discovered in 𝐼𝐿𝑢𝑙𝑢𝑔𝑔𝑒𝑑. It's a great destination as well. The energy and the peace of the place, it's amazing. Breathtaking views, the Elephant Rock, Hegra. There's also a lot of farms that you can go and spend, your time with the family or with the kids. So there's a lot of things to be seen. And Saudi is also a huge country.
Yes.
If you take all of the GCC, Saudi is larger than the
geography
rest of
is
the GCC. Population-wise, the same. Economy, the same. And what's really nice about Saudi is that you actually get to meet the locals. The mix right now, I think it's 90% and 10% are expats. So you actually spend a lot of time with the locals, which is quite nice as well. I think there's big plans for the kingdom. There's a lot of energy and investment behind these plans from both private and public sectors. I think all of the components have been aligned, and now it's the execution phase.
Well, look, it's been a wonderful conversation.
It has.
I enjoyed it thoroughly, a lot of insights, and thank you again for the time.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for putting such a great show.
No,
everybody is very happy, and it's the 25th show, the 25th event,
it
right?
is,
So
yes.
congratulations again.
Thank you very much. But most of all, this conversation for me was very, very interesting. Also because it's my first conversation with an asset manager. Yeah, I did not expect this to be so enjoyable.
Let me know when you want to have the second one.
No, this is truly that's why I called you hotel doctor. I think it's like it part by part, and the best thing is I can really feel that you enjoy it.
I really do.
Yeah, and I think also probably because you put people in front of the whole thing that you're thinking. It's just not from the perspective of an asset or anything. Even though it's a job of the job is asset management, I think you put people ahead, and the mechanics. I think you feel the emotions more deeper than regular people, perhaps. I mean, this is my sense.
Yeah, the equation is really, and this is what I have in my slides, to the board. The first slide says happy employees, happy guests, happy owners.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for this
lovely chat. Thank you for your time. It's been great.
No, thank you for your time, and I hope to have another lovely conversation sometime.
That would be great.
Well,
thank you.